Hello quilty friends and welcome back to my channel. My name's Rachel and I make videos about quilting and my creative life. Anywhere that you can find me on the web is listed in the video description below, including a link to my Patreon channel where you'll find weekly exclusive videos. You may have seen on my other socials, Instagram and Facebook, and also here on the shorts, I shared last week this quilt, which is an English paper pieced and Irish chain style quilt. And when I shared that video, it was very popular and I had lots of people asking for pattern details and instructions. I tried my best to reply in the comments with as much detail as I could, you know, in a short comment that you get, but I thought I would do a full video so that you can see how I made it and have all the information that you might need to make one yourself. Because although these flowers are English paper pieced, they come together quite quick. For the size quilt that I did, you only need 15, so you can do those probably in a couple of weeks, and then the rest of the quilt top comes together really quick. So it's a really nice way to incorporate English paper piecing in a full-size quilt, but not have to commit to a whole bunch of hand sewing. So let me give you some details that you would need first of all. On my quilt, I've used a product called Hexiform, which is a paper replacement product. You leave it in there so you don't take it out, which is really handy for shapes like this where you essentially got these raw edges, because if you've done English paper piecing in the past, you'll know that you can only remove the paper once you've sewn around the edge. So Hexiform is really handy for that. It also adds a little bit of dimension because these are essentially now appliqued onto the quilt. It adds a nice little bit of dimension. They're not stiff, as you can see, but it goes straight back to normal. It does add a little bit of weight, don't get me wrong. There is something staying in there, but they're very, very soft, as you just saw. Soft and malleable, and once your quilt is washed, it'll be fine. You can, of course, use paper, nothing stopping you doing that. When you do a curve and you've still got paper left in, what you do is sew your shape to this point, give it a really good press, perhaps even a slight starch around the edge. You could just rub some starch around the edge with a paintbrush, let it dry and give it a really good press. That will keep your edges nice and crisp. Pull your paper out as usual and press again, just to make sure you retain that shape, and you shouldn't find any issue with doing it that way. If you want to download some shapes that you can print at home just to have a little go at, I do sell these shapes in my Etsy shop, so I'll leave the link to those listed down below, and included in the bundle is loads of different sizes that you need. For these shapes I've used 1.5 inch. Same rationale applies with these hexagon petals as it does with any shape, that you're measuring the width of the side and you need to use the same size for everything. So here is a 1.5 inch hexagon, and that corresponds with a 1.5 inch hexagon petal. Hexiform is bought, I think, exclusively from Ashmead Design. She makes it and she sells it. And they come in packs. They come in packs of 60, so you need to, no, I think you can get them less than 60 actually, but I bought packs of 60, so I ended up with 60 hexagons. So I've got more hexagons left over than what I need. That's what they look like, just almost like kind of an interfacing cum wadding. It's brilliant. And then you'll need however many you choose to make, 6 petals per flower, as you do with any hexagon flower. Now with these, I do glue baste them. So the top edges there are glue basted. And as you can see, they're just gathered. So you make tiny little pleats, apply the glue to the paper, and then just roll with your finger to create little pleats all the way around. You could, in theory, thread baste these. So you'd probably start here, you'd baste all of these straight edges, and then you'd do a large running stitch along there, and then gather it and try and do it that way. It is easier with the glue basting, I'm not going to lie, because it just sticks straight away. I've got 2 completed ones left over because I wasn't sure what I was going to make and how many I was going to need. And then I've got 3 that are unsewn, so I've got quite a few left over. But this blue one is lovely, isn't it? So they just go together in the exact same way that a hexagon flower would. After you've basted it, you don't need to pay any additional attention to that top edge. You just sew them together as you would a normal hexagon flower. The one issue that I ran into when doing these is it's quite hard to know. Let me see if I've got one left over. I think I have. When you've got your fabric and you're basting it around, you'll start here and baste all the way here. It's quite hard to know when it's covered with fabric when that edge ends. So when you then put them together, you might find these ones do align quite nicely, but yeah, that one doesn't. So let me show there. Those two don't align together there. And that is just because when I've come to baste this edge, I've stopped too early. So all I do to combat that is I just find which ones fit best together. And then before you start sewing it, just unpeel the one that's too high and just rebaste it, just fold it down. You'll be able to see where you've come into the issue. But that happened pretty much on every single petal that I did. So don't think you're doing something wrong. You just need to pull it up and rebaste it. It's hard to see where that curve ends, really. Another good thing about using Hexiform is you don't have to worry about whether you're sewing into the paper or not. In some ways, it's actually better to sew into the Hexiform a little bit because you know that it's secure then. And I've sewn these with a 50 weight Aurifil thread, and it's very, very good for English paper piecing. So once you've got this far, you'll then need to applique it onto a background square. Now, the size of my background square was dictated by the size of the alternating block. So that's why the size of the background square is a bit unusual. Well, it's not unusual. So I've machine appliqued them. You can go ahead and hand applique them if you wanted to. Nothing's stopping you, but I was going for more of the speed. So let me show you how to applique it, and then we'll move on to me giving you the sizes and the method for the alternating block. I should also mention the fabric that I've used here is Poppy Cotton, Bluebell and Buttercup. It's a very new fabric that has just been released in the last month or so. So if you don't see it available in the UK, it's just because it takes a little bit longer to arrive in the UK. I think it's available through Rose Garden Patchwork. She certainly had it on pre-order, so hopefully it's still available. We have a 10.5 inch square. Mine's 10 inch for demonstration purposes, but you need to cut yours at 10.5 inch. Iron it in half. And then fold it into quarters and press that again. This crease essentially is going to help us make sure the block is nice and centered. So what you can then do is with these lines, is just position your hexagon over the top, lining that line up with this side seam here, and then making sure that that is in the middle as well. I like to then glue baste any applique that I stick down because I find that if you put pins in, it distorts it and it can shift. It doesn't come out as flat. So I use Roxanne's Baste It glue, just some little dabs all the way along the edge. Flip that over and check your alignment again. So straight there. Give it a press down, and you can either let it naturally dry or flip it over and iron it from the back. And there we go, now ready for your choice of applique, whether that's hand or machine. I'm now going to show you how to blanket stitch it on the machine, and I think I'll use a red thread if I've got one. On my machine, I think the blanket stitch is in utility stitches, yeah. So your blanket stitch looks like this. Most machines will have one. You just need to be careful of which way the blanket is going and just put your applique according to that. So yeah, that's the one that I'm going to go for. If you haven't got a blanket stitch, you can use a zigzag stitch. Now these little legs on the blanket stitch, I am going to make those a little bit longer so that I can be sure that it catches everything. Now, starting anywhere other than in the tight corner, because you need room to adjust, and the corner is where you don't really want to mess up. So I'm just going to start at the top, and my machine sucks the thread down usually. So I don't start with a back stitch because you're going to come over this area. So if your machine has any type of central mark, mine has a red line on the presser foot. So you line that up with the edge of where you're going to applique, or your central needle position is with the edge of the applique, and then it steps over, comes back, steps over, stitches like that. And also start with your needle set in the down position so that every time you stop, your needle goes down. And then just keep putting your needle down, bringing your presser foot up and pivoting. Now, when you get to the inside of the curve, you want to make sure you're stopping on the straight bit, not on the arm that's going into the applique, because otherwise then you'll be misaligned when you come to start again. So stop when you're on the straight at the edge of the applique and totally pivot your work, and then the next stitch you take will be going inwards. And then when you get to the very edge, overstitch what you've done by a couple of stitches and then do a little bit of a back stitch, and that will secure your thread. And that is how the blanket stitch will look. And then from the back. Now, when I've done my actual quilt top, I've cut this away. So I've cut it away about 1/4 inch all the way around to the edge, and that will free up this bulk. It just reduces the bulk on your quilt top. It's not an essential step, you don't need to. Just to do it, just separate the two pieces, snip in, and then just roughly cut all the way around to the edge. It's probably closer to 1/2 inch that I leave, because obviously you've got the glue. It depends where you've glued. And you can reuse that piece of fabric, so that just reduces a little bit of bulk on the back of the quilt as well. The alternating block is a 9 patch with cornerstones attached to it, so we'll take those off first because you construct the 9 patch to begin with. So in my quilt that I made, the quilt turned out to be 60 by 70 with the border, so I think it was 50 by 60. And to get a 50 by 60 layout, it was 15 of each blocks, so 30 blocks in total. This is the 9 patch. When assembling the 9 patch, you just need to be careful with your colour placement and make sure it's this way around, rather than having the 9 patch that way. That won't get you the same effect. The coloured pieces need to be on the edge. So it goes like that, and then a coloured piece in the middle. These are simply cut from 2.5 inch squares. So sew a 9 patch with 9 2.5 inch squares together. And then that is my completed 9 patch. So you just want to check that it measures 6.5 inches. I could do with a little bit of a trim, only very, very slightly, but just make sure that you're trimming everything straight. So match those seam lines up with a seam on your ruler. So now it comes to adding a top and a bottom, and I always just do the plain ones first. So just go ahead and sew yourself 2.5 inch by 6.5 inch, sew that straight to it. And then whilst you're there at your machine, put the top and the bottom on either side. So, okay. This white fabric is still the same size, 2.5 by 6.5, still 2.5 inch. You just go in to sew those to the edge so that then you will have long pieces, and you attach these two on. And then once sewn, you'll have something that looks like that. When you're pressing, remember to press towards the dark, which in this case is up towards the 9 patch, because then when you press these, you'll also press those towards the dark, and it will mean that your seams are going to nest really nicely on these edges. So then you simply just sew those two to the 9 patch, and that block is done. So there you have it, your 2 complete blocks to make this quilt. So simple, you just alternate these 2 blocks, 15 of each, and then you've got a nice layout. What layout did I do? I think I did 5 by 6. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30. Yes, 5 by 6. This is appliqued onto a 10.5 inch background. Mine's a 10 inch here just for demonstration purposes because I've already made my quilt. And then these are 2.5 inch pieces, whether they're the strips or the squares. And then that will finish at 10.5. On my quilt, because I like a width of at least 60, I added a 4.5 inch cut border on here. So it finishes at 4 1/4. Well, it'll be like 4 inches when you get the binding on. So that's my quilt. I intend to do a mixture of hand and machine quilting on that. It's just too hot to be handling the weight of a full quilt. I've got the backing and the binding prepped. It's just a case of doing it. For the hand quilting, I'm just going to outline around the flowers. I might do that in a very soft pale pink, like that sort of colour. And then the machine quilting will sort of echo the chain, but I will need to make sure that I apply enough quilting onto it. I'll cross that bridge when I come to it. So I really hope that you've enjoyed watching this video, you've enjoyed seeing the process, and if you was one of the ones from the original reel, I hope it answers all of your questions, but if not, drop them in the comments and I'll do my best to get back to those. So until next time I see you, which I think will be with Festival of Quilts content, you take care and happy stitching, and enjoy the festival if you're going. Bye!